Jax's revenge domain.
My nephew has protection. I control HR. Drop it, Danny. Vernon Harris didn't even look up from his computer screen when he said it. Just kept clicking through spreadsheets like he was discussing the weather. The words hit like a wrench dropped from 30 feet. I stood there in his corner office, watching this guy casually destroy 22 years of my work. 22 years of crawling through aircraft bellies, earning my engineering degree at night, solving problems that saved this company millions. All tossed aside for his nephew Kyle, who couldn't explain basic hydraulic pressure without stuttering. I'm Danny Keegan, 47 years old, and I've been fixing things since I was old enough to hold a socket wrench. Started as an Air Force mechanic at Ramstein Air Base, worked my way up to senior aerospace engineer at Titan Defense Systems. When guys like Vernon see me, they see shop floor. When I see aircraft, I see systems that keep people alive. With respect, sir, your nephew isn't qualified for the advanced projects position, I said, adjusting the torque on my pocket multi-tool, old habit from the service. Kyle asked me yesterday what thrust vectoring meant. That's undergraduate material. Vernon finally looked up, annoyance flickering across his face. Are you suggesting I'm playing favorites? Kyle has impressive credentials, fresh perspective from his MBA program, fresh perspective, right? Kyle Harris had been here 3 months and already approved modifications to our F-18 hydraulic actuators without proper testing protocols. Components that would go into aircraft carrying Navy pilots, real people with families. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to my notes. I checked his resume references. Called his previous companies, Northrop says they never had a Kyle Harris in their engineering division. Boeing's HR department has no record of him either. Lockheed Martin told me they'd remember someone who supposedly led a $50 million avionics upgrade. Vernon's jaw tightened. Those are serious accusations. They're facts. Your nephew fabricated his entire work history. And last week during the safety review, he approved hydraulic pressure modifications without understanding the stress analysis. Those components are going into F-18s that will carry pilots over hostile territory enough. Vernon's palm slammed against his mahogany desk. The coffee cup jumped. You're becoming a problem, Danny. A problem I don't need. My nephew has protection from the board. I control HR. This conversation is over. I straightened my spine and looked him dead in the eye. You have no idea who you're dealing with. You have 10 minutes to fix this. Vernon's laugh was sharp and dismissive. Are you threatening me? With what exactly? Some union grievance? Good luck with that. Security will escort you out before lunch. I left without another word, walking through the maze of cubicles where young engineers looked up from their CAD workstations. These kids respected me. I'd trained half of them, pulled them through their first defense contract reviews. Tommy Rodriguez in hydraulics still called me whenever he hit a complex problem. Sarah Kim in avionics had learned stress analysis sitting next to my desk for 6 months. Now Vernon had humiliated me in front of the team I'd spent years building. My phone felt heavy in my pocket as I headed to the parking garage. One call would change everything. I'd hoped never to use this connection, but Vernon had changed the rules. The underground garage smelled like motor oil and concrete. I sat in my pickup truck and stared at the contact name, Colonel James Wright, Pentagon Defense Contract Management. Jim and I went back 25 years to the same flight line at Ramstein Air Base. Both young airmen learning how systems failed when you cut corners. He'd gone officer track, I'd gone civilian, but we understood each other. We'd crawled through the same aircraft bellies, torqued the same bolts, seen what happened when maintenance got sloppy. 3 years ago, when Titan landed the F-18 hydraulic retrofit contract, Jim had called to congratulate me. Danny, you earned this one. That hydraulic system design is solid work. Coming from him, it meant everything. I pressed call, Danny Keegan. Jim's voice was warm. Been too long, brother. How's the F-18 project going? Jim, I need to talk to you about Titan Defense. We've got a situation that affects the hydraulic retrofit contract. His tone shifted immediately to business mode. What kind of situation? Unqualified personnel approving critical modifications. Components that haven't been through proper testing protocols. The person signing off lacks basic technical knowledge and fabricated his work history. Silence stretched between us. I could hear papers rustling on his end. That's a serious allegation for a defense contractor, Danny. Are we talking about safety issues that could affect mission readiness? Hydraulic actuator modifications approved without stress testing. Control surface response characteristics changed without documentation. And Jim, I took a breath. The guy doing this lied about military service on his federal security clearance application. Jesus, Danny, stolen valor on a defense contract. That's federal fraud territory. We're talking potential criminal charges I know I wouldn't call if I wasn't certain. I've got documentation. Walk me through the specifics. How bad is this? I opened my notebook. 23 separate modification approvals in the last 3 months. all signed by Kyle Harris, Vernon Harris's nephew. Kid graduated with a marketing degree, no engineering background, claims he worked at Northrop, Boeing, and Lockheed. All three companies say they've never heard of him. And the security clearance fraud claims he served as a reserve officer in the 442nd Fighter Wing. I called them. No Kyle Harris on their roster, ever. Jim was quiet for a long moment. Danny, you realize what you're asking me to do here. A Pentagon investigation into a major contractor affects hundreds of jobs. I realize exactly what I'm asking. But those hydraulic components are going into F-18s carrying pilots over Afghanistan. If those systems fail because someone approved modifications they didn't understand, say no more. Send me everything you have. I'm triggering an emergency compliance review today. Jim, there's something else. Vernon Harris, the VP who hired his nephew, threatened my job when I raised concerns. Said he controls HR and has board protection. Not anymore, he doesn't. Pentagon oversight trumps corporate politics. You're now under federal whistleblower protection. Anyone retaliates against you, they answer to DOD investigators. After hanging up, I sat motionless in my truck. 22 years of keeping my head down, following proper channels, believing the system would reward good work. Vernon had just blown that up in 10 minutes. My phone buzzed with a text from Tommy Rodriguez. Danny, heard Vernon called you into his office. Everything okay? Before I could respond, another text from Sarah Kim. Boss, whatever's happening, the team's got your back. These kids understood what I'd been fighting for. Quality work, safety standards. The idea that technical competence should matter more than family connections. 20 minutes after my call to Jim, my phone lit up with an unknown number. Hello? Who the hell are you? The voice was female, tight with panic. This is Helen Torres, Titan Defense Board Chair. A Pentagon colonel just called demanding an emergency compliance review. He mentioned safety concerns from a company insider. My pulse quickened. That was fast, even for Jim. Yes, ma'am. I'm Danny Keegan, senior engineer on the F-18 retrofit project. Do you understand what this could do to our defense contracts? To our stock price when this gets out? Our entire Pentagon relationship is at stake here, ma'am. I understand exactly what it could do. I also understand what happens when unqualified people approve modifications to flight-critical systems. The line went quiet. I could hear muffled voices in the background, like she had her hand over the phone talking to someone else. What do you want, Mr. Keegan? Before I could answer, my phone signaled another call. Vernon, ma'am, can you hold for just a moment? This might be relevant. I switched calls without waiting for her response. What have you done? Vernon's voice had lost all its confidence. Gone was the dismissive tone from his office. The Pentagon just called an emergency meeting. They're sending investigators tomorrow morning. I mentioned you had 10 minutes to fix the situation. You laughed. You can't do this. You'll destroy your own career. I'll make sure you never work in aerospace again. Vernon, the investigation is happening because there are legitimate safety concerns. Your nephew approved modifications that violate federal testing requirements. That's not spite. That's documented fact. Tell me what you want, he said, desperation creeping into his voice. A raise, transfer to another division, early retirement package. Name it. It's too late for that. The concerns are officially logged with Pentagon oversight. But how badly this goes for Titan depends on what happens next. I switched back to Helen Torres. Sorry for the delay, Miss Torres. As I was saying, I want 3 things. First, someone qualified running advanced projects. Second, a complete safety audit of every modification approved in the last 6 months. Third, assurance that technical competence, not family connections, determines advancement here. That's substantial, Helen said carefully. The board would need to discuss these demands, of course. You have until the Pentagon investigators arrive tomorrow at 9 a.m. I should mention that I've documented all the improper approvals and Kyle Harris's qualification issues. If Titan chooses to retaliate against me, that documentation goes directly to the Defense Criminal Investigative Service. You've thought this through, Helen said, sounding almost impressed. I'm an engineer. Thinking through system failures is what I do. The rest of the evening crawled by. I sat in my apartment going through my documentation one more time. Every email Kyle had sent asking basic questions, screenshots of the unauthorized modifications, photos of the hydraulic pressure specifications he'd changed without understanding the downstream effects. My cat, Sergeant, sensed something was up and stayed close. Named him after my first sergeant at Ramstein, who taught me that attention to detail kept people alive. What do you think, Sarge? Did I just commit career suicide? At 11:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. Parking garage, level 3, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Come alone if you want to know what you're really dealing with. Anonymous messages were never good news. But if someone had information about more safety issues, I needed to hear it. The next morning I arrived early and took the elevator to level 3. The concrete structure was mostly empty at this hour. A figure stepped out from behind a concrete pillar. Kyle Harris. He looked different from the confident young man who'd been strutting around the office for 3 months. His usual designer clothes were wrinkled, his hair uncombed. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice subdued. "What do you want, Kyle?" He glanced nervously around the garage. "I need to warn you about Uncle Vernon. He's planning something big, something that goes beyond just trying to discredit you. I'm already aware he wants revenge." Kyle shook his head. "It's worse than that. Last night he made calls to every contractor he has relationships with. He's trying to get you blacklisted from the entire industry." My stomach tightened. In aerospace, reputation was everything. If Vernon could convince other companies I was a troublemaker. But there's more, Kyle continued. He's been taking money from component suppliers. Cash payments to approve their parts even when they don't meet specifications. You have proof of this. Kyle pulled out his phone and showed me bank deposit records. He's been using me as a go-between, making deposits into accounts I set up. I thought it was just consulting fees until I realized what was really happening. "Why are you telling me this? You lost your position because of me." His shoulders slumped. "Because I never wanted any of this. Uncle Vernon pushed me into engineering when I told him I wasn't qualified. Said it was my family duty to carry on the Harris legacy at Titan. I tried to tell him I'd be better in marketing or sales, but he wouldn't listen." I studied his face, looking for deception. There's something else, isn't there? The investigators are going to find out I lied on my security clearance application. About the military service, Vernon made me do it. Said it would look impressive on the paperwork. That's a federal crime, Kyle. Stolen valor on a defense contract. I know his voice cracked slightly. Uncle Vernon said it didn't matter because nobody would check. He said family takes care of family. I leaned against a concrete support beam. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. Consider it an apology. I should never have taken that position. When this is over, if there's any chance you could put in a word for me in marketing, I'd appreciate it. That's where I actually belong. Why should I trust you?" Kyle pulled out his phone again and played a recording. Vernon's voice discussing exactly the bribery scheme Kyle had just described. The audio quality was clear, professionally recorded. I've been documenting everything since last month when I realized how deep this goes. Kyle said, "Uncle Vernon isn't just incompetent, he's criminal." After Kyle left, I sat in my truck processing this new information. Vernon wasn't just a nepotistic boss. He was running a corruption network that put pilots' lives at risk for profit. At 8:45 a.m., I walked into Titan's executive conference room. The board was already assembled along with Vernon, who looked like he hadn't slept. At precisely 9:02, 2 people in military uniforms entered. Helen Torres stood. "Everyone, this is Colonel Sandra Martinez from Defense Contract Management and Agent Paul Richardson from the Defense Criminal Investigative Service." Colonel Martinez was all business. "Mr. Keegan, we understand you raised concerns about safety protocols and personnel qualifications. Walk us through your findings." For the next hour, I laid out everything. Kyle's fabricated resume, the 23 unauthorized modifications, his complete inability to explain basic engineering principles during safety reviews, the hydraulic actuator changes that could affect control surface response. "Mr. Harris," Colonel Martinez finally addressed Vernon, "these are serious allegations. Do you have documentation supporting your nephew's qualifications?" Vernon's hands shook as he opened a folder. His usual confidence was completely gone. "Kyle has an engineering degree and previous aerospace experience." "Which companies?" Agent Richardson asked. "Pen ready." Vernon listed the same 3 firms I'd already contacted. Richardson made notes. "We'll verify those references independently. In the meantime, we need to examine every modification Kyle Harris approved." Helen leaned forward. "What are our options here, Colonel?" "Best case scenario, you voluntarily suspend the employee in question, conduct a complete audit, and implement new oversight procedures. Worst case, we suspend your defense contracting privileges pending a full investigation." The color drained from Vernon's face. "Loosing defense contracts would cripple Titan completely." "There's something else," I said, pulling out Kyle's phone recording. "This involves more than just unqualified personnel." Agent Richardson looked up from his notes. "What kind of additional concerns?" "Financial impropriety. Bribes from component suppliers in exchange for approving substandard parts." I placed Kyle's phone on the conference table. "This recording documents the scheme." Vernon shot to his feet. "That's illegally obtained evidence. My nephew can't consent to recording private family conversations." "Actually," Agent Richardson said calmly, "federal fraud investigations have different rules, and workplace safety violations involving defense contracts fall under our jurisdiction." Colonel Martinez gestured for me to continue. "Play the recording, Mr. Keegan." Vernon's voice filled the conference room, discussing cash payments and account numbers. The board members exchanged increasingly uncomfortable glances as the details emerged. The Thompson Hydraulics payment clears next week. Just make sure their actuators get approved regardless of the test results. Helen Torres looked physically ill. Vernon, please tell me this isn't what it sounds like. It's taken out of context, Vernon stammered. Those were legitimate consulting arrangements. Consulting on what? Colonel Martinez asked. You're not a technical engineer. What expertise were you providing to hydraulic component suppliers? Vernon opened and closed his mouth without sound. Agent Richardson stood up. Mr. Harris, you have the right to remain silent. I strongly suggest you exercise that right and contact an attorney. The room erupted. Board members started talking at once. Vernon slumped in his chair like a deflated balloon. Helen Torres called for order. The board needs to caucus privately. Everyone except board members, please step outside. Colonel Martinez, Agent Richardson, Vernon, and I filed into the hallway. Vernon immediately pulled out his phone, probably calling his lawyer. Mr. Keegan, Colonel Martinez said quietly, this situation is more extensive than we initially understood. How long have you suspected financial corruption? I didn't until this morning. I was focused on the technical incompetence and safety issues. The bribery information came from Kyle Harris. Where's Kyle now? I don't know. He warned me about his uncle's plans and provided the evidence. Said he wanted to make things right. Agent Richardson checked his watch. We'll need to interview Kyle Harris as soon as possible. This investigation just expanded significantly. 20 minutes later, the board called us back in. Helen Torres looked like she'd aged 10 years. The board has reached several decisions, she announced. First, Vernon Harris is terminated immediately and banned from all Titan facilities. Second, Kyle Harris's employment is terminated and his security clearance application is being withdrawn. Vernon started to object, but his lawyer, who had apparently arrived during the caucus, placed a hand on his arm. Third, Helen continued, Titan is implementing a complete audit of all supplier relationships and component approvals from the past 2 years. Fourth, we're establishing a new position, Executive Director of Safety and Compliance, reporting directly to this board. She looked at me. Mr. Keegan, the board would like to offer you that position, effective immediately. The offer caught me off guard. Ma'am, I appreciate the confidence, but this investigation is just beginning, which is exactly why we need someone with unquestioned integrity leading our safety efforts. Helen said, your salary would increase by 40% and you'd have authority to build your own team. Colonel Martinez nodded approvingly. That would satisfy Pentagon requirements for enhanced oversight. There's one more thing, I said. Kyle Harris, despite his mistakes, he did the right thing in the end. If this company is serious about second chances and putting people where their skills fit best, he might be worth considering for a marketing position, after he's dealt with the legal consequences of his actions. Helen made a note. We'll consider that when appropriate. Agent Richardson addressed Vernon directly. Mr. Harris, you're under arrest for conspiracy to defraud the United States government and bribery in connection with defense contracts. As they read Vernon his rights and led him away in handcuffs, he shot me one last look of pure hatred. 22 years of following the rules, and it came down to this moment. The next few weeks blurred together. Pentagon investigators crawled through every aspect of Titan's operations. They found 47 instances of improper component approvals tied to Vernon's bribery scheme. Parts that didn't meet stress specifications, hydraulic systems with pressure tolerances outside acceptable ranges, electrical components from suppliers who'd paid for approval rather than earned it. Kyle Harris cooperated fully with the investigation in exchange for a reduced sentence. He pled guilty to falsifying federal documents and received 18 months probation plus community service. True to his word, he documented everything meticulously. His testimony helped prosecutors build an airtight case against Vernon. I spent most of my time in meetings with investigators, explaining technical specifications and safety protocols. The young engineers on my former team stepped up magnificently. Tommy Rodriguez took over the day-to-day hydraulic systems work. Sarah Kim coordinated with Pentagon oversight on component testing. They understood that we were rebuilding something important. 3 months after Vernon's arrest, Colonel Martinez returned for a follow-up inspection. This time she brought good news. Titan Defense has exceeded all Pentagon requirements for improved oversight. She announced to the assembled engineering staff, your safety protocols are now the model we're recommending to other defense contractors. The applause from my team felt better than any promotion I'd ever received. Helen Torres pulled me aside after the meeting. Danny, I want you to know that the board considers this transformation one of the best things that's happened to Titan in years. Vernon's corruption was like a cancer. Cutting it out was painful, but necessary. What's the final damage assessment? Vernon will serve 8 years in federal prison. The suppliers involved in the bribery scheme lost their defense contracts permanently. We've recovered most of the money through asset forfeiture, and our Pentagon relationship is stronger than ever." She paused. "We've also received 3 new contract bids since news of our enhanced safety protocols spread through the industry. Apparently, other contractors want to partner with companies that have proven integrity." That evening, I stood in my new office, looking down at the production floor where hydraulic actuators were being assembled for F-18s. Every component properly tested, every modification documented, every signature backed by real expertise and honest evaluation. My phone buzzed with a text from Jim Wright. "Danny, heard about your promotion. Proud of you, brother. The pilots flying those F-18s are safer because of what you did." 6 months later, Kyle Harris completed his community service and applied for a marketing coordinator position at a civilian aerospace company. I provided a reference letter that focused on his documentation skills, attention to detail, and willingness to admit mistakes and learn from them. He got the job. Vernon's appeals were all denied. His wife divorced him and moved back to her family in Ohio with their children. The Harris name disappeared from Titan's employee roster permanently. The real victory wasn't destroying Vernon Harris. It was building something better from the wreckage he left behind. 2 years later, Titan Defense employed 340 more people than when Vernon ran operations. Our safety record became the gold standard for Pentagon contractors. I promoted Tommy Rodriguez to lead hydraulic systems engineer. He'd earned it through 5 years of solid work and never cutting corners. Sarah Kim became our new quality assurance director. She caught problems before they became safety issues. These weren't diversity hires or feel-good gestures. They were the best people for the jobs. The young engineers who joined Titan now knew their ideas got heard based on merit, not family connections. They knew their safety concerns would be investigated, not dismissed. They knew that technical competence and integrity came first, always. My office walls displayed certificates from the Air Force Association, the Society of Professional Engineers, and a commendation from the Secretary of Defense for exemplary dedication to aircraft safety and Pentagon oversight compliance. But the real satisfaction came from watching the production floor through my window. Hydraulic actuators rolled off the assembly line in perfect condition. Every component tested beyond specifications. Every modification documented and approved by people who understood the physics involved. Every signature backed by years of experience and unquestioned expertise. The F-18s using our components had 0 hydraulic failures in 18 months of combat operations. 0. That number represented dozens of pilots who made it home to their families because the systems worked exactly as designed. Vernon Harris served his 8 years in federal prison. I heard through industry contacts that he tried starting a consulting business after his release. No aerospace company would work with him. His professional reputation was permanently destroyed, exactly as it should have been. Kyle Harris, on the other hand, found his place in civilian marketing. He'd learned the difference between earning respect and inheriting it. Last Christmas, he sent me a card thanking me for teaching him what integrity looked like in practice. He'd been promoted twice at his new company and was engaged to a woman who knew nothing about his mistakes at Titan. People can change when they're willing to admit their failures and learn from them. The aerospace industry is small. Word spreads fast about companies that maintain high standards and ones that don't. Titan's reputation for uncompromising safety attracted the best engineers from competitors. We could afford to be selective about who we hired because talented people wanted to work where their skills mattered more than their connections. 3 months ago, Lockheed Martin approached us about partnering on their next-generation fighter aircraft hydraulic systems. "We need a company we can trust with mission-critical components," their program director explained. Titan Defense has that reputation now. The contract was worth $500 million over 7 years. More importantly, it validated everything we'd rebuilt after Vernon's corruption was exposed. Helen Torres announced her retirement last month. The board offered me her position as CEO, but I declined. My expertise was in engineering and safety oversight, not corporate strategy. Better to do one job excellently than multiple jobs adequately. Instead, I recommended Maria Santos, our contracts director, for CEO. She'd managed Pentagon relationships flawlessly for 15 years and understood both technical requirements and business realities. The board approved her promotion unanimously. During Maria's first board meeting as CEO, she established a new company policy. Any employee who raised legitimate safety concerns would receive automatic protection and a thorough investigation. "This company will never again punish people for doing the right thing," she declared. The policy was named the Keegan Protocol. Jim Wright retired from the Pentagon and joined Titan as our Director of Government Relations. Having an insider's understanding of defense procurement processes gave us advantages in contract negotiations, but more importantly, it ensured we stayed ahead of evolving safety requirements. Danny, he told me recently, what you did took guts. Most people would have kept quiet and hoped someone else would speak up. In the Air Force, we had a saying, integrity first. Some habits stick. Last week, I received a letter from Lieutenant Commander Jessica Martinez, an F-18 pilot stationed on the USS Abraham Lincoln. She'd heard about the Titan safety protocols and wanted to thank the engineers who built her aircraft's hydraulic systems. Knowing that every component was properly tested and approved by qualified people gives me confidence in my equipment, she wrote. That confidence could mean the difference between completing the mission and not coming home. That letter sits framed on my desk next to photos of my Air Force days. It reminds me why we do this work. The best revenge isn't destroying someone's career out of spite. It's building systems so strong and principled that corruption can't take root again. Vernon Harris lost everything that mattered to him, his power, his reputation, his family's respect. I gained everything I'd worked for, recognition, authority, and the knowledge that safety comes first in every decision we make. Sometimes standing up for what's right means risking everything you've built. But when you're dealing with systems that keep people alive, silence isn't an option. The young engineers working under me understand that their judgment calls have life or death consequences. They take that responsibility seriously because they've seen what happens when people don't. Integrity isn't just about following rules. It's about understanding that your work affects real people in real situations where failure isn't acceptable. It's about choosing to do the difficult right thing instead of the easy wrong thing, even when nobody's watching. The systems work when everyone does their job correctly. My job is making sure the right people are in the right positions with the right motivations. That's how it should be. That's how it is now. And Vernon Harris learned the hard way that some principles aren't negotiable. If this story resonated with you, it's because you understand that standing up for what's right isn't always easy, but it's always necessary. We've all seen corruption, nepotism, and incompetence rewarded while honest work gets ignored. The difference between complaining about the system and changing it comes down to one decision. Are you willing to risk your comfort to protect something bigger than yourself? In my case, that something was the safety of military pilots who trusted their lives to the components we built. For you, it might be different, protecting your team, your customers, or simply the principle that merit should matter more than connections. But the choice is the same. Stay silent and hope someone else acts, or step forward and do what needs to be done. The system only works when good people refuse to let it fail.